floating around the paddock in still, and it's fair to say that there is a smile for Stuart Gorman fan at the moment. Fantastic. Tissot Gorman has long been touted as one of the big rising talents from British Isles. Of course, he spent a lot of his time racing in England in the Fab Mini Bike Championship, and of course across various classes in BSB. He's done plenty of stuff over in the Moto Junior paddock, and now gets the big shot, the big time to realise his dream over in the World Championship. And I think right from the start last year, when he did jump in at Misano as a replacement rider, even though he would have wanted more for himself, he didn't disgrace himself, and then went back at 40 miles straight into the top 6 as well. Top 10 last time out. Tissot Gorman is going places, and this weekend, having never seen Kota,
yeah, very impressive to finish inside the top 10. Yesterday, very impressive from a lot of the rookies. O'Gorman, Morelli was inside the top 10. Rico Samela was P8, of course, as well. Joel Esteban hadn't been for last year, but he, of course, raced in America in 2024. Eddie O'Shea, of course, here as a second-time rider, and Brian Ariati and Vedi Patama inside that top 14 as well. We know that the rookies coming into Moto3 these days are fast. They spend a lot of time, more time so in the past, of course, with the new age limits coming into this, and it helps them to have more experience on the road to MotoGP. You've got the Moto Junior, of course, Red Bull Rookies Cup for some of them as well, and just great platforms for them to enter Moto3 and just be on the pace straight away. We saw it with Kilo, we saw it with Carpe last year, who's on your screen now. The rookies, sometimes it's easy to forget that they are rookies because they're just straight away at the front, and yeah, it's great to see. Not great for the more experienced riders, of course, who have got rookies who they probably raced in the past in the road to MotoGP, who got promoted ahead of them, and they're seeing the riders they used to be rivals with arriving in Moto3 and starting to be with them and beat them straight away. But yeah, the likes of O'Gorman have been super impressive this year. Rico Samela, another one who's really taken a step forward and taken to Moto3 really quickly, which is always great to see. Always great to have new names in the class who are right there up inside that top 10 and fighting for podiums.
It's a great time to be in motorcycle racing at the moment, and for anyone coming through in motorcycle racing, do assist with it, because the amount of different roads and avenues you can take to get either up here into MotoGP, across in the world superbike paddock, national levels. I mean, I was talking to some of the guys from Moto America yesterday, and they're pulling in massive numbers, trackside attendances through the roof at some of Moto America's events. Then you've got, of course, British Superbikes, the leading domestic series in the world. World Superbikes, of course, this weekend actually over in Portimao. They've just launched their brand new World Sport Bike Championship, so a new class there. We've got a new class coming in this weekend already with the Bagger World Cup. We've got Moto3, Moto2, MotoGP, of course. There's so many different avenues you can take to get to one of these classes. That's before we start going on about all of the Moto4 Asia, Britain, Northern, Latin Cups as well, of course, now over in South America. Great time to get on two wheels and pull the throttle back as hard as it can go, get tucked in and have a bat with your mates.
Certainly is. Putting throttle as hard back as it goes is Mats Quiles. Didn't take long for him to get to the front of the train. I don't know if they've let Quiles through, or he's just barged his way past them, but no surprise to see Peroni improving, Cruzes improving just behind. Joel Esteban's up there inside the top 6 as well. So Quiles setting a good pace out front. A 2:13.432 is just a tenth off what he could do for his fastest lap, but the chasers have closed in. But of course, they've got a nice reference. Peroni in particular, just up ahead.
Just imagine Alan Bronick's face for a minute. Should have been doing this yesterday afternoon, guys, not this morning. Who says 4th, Ogden 11th. So there's definitely a little bit of time to be found for both CIP Green Power KTMs. Quiles pushing on. Oh, gets that all crossed up, but he's going to force it to make an apex. Yes, he does. And he does make the apex as well. Quiles is on a mission then. And I'll tell you what, look who's right behind him again, as you said. Valentin Peroni has now got through of Joel Esteban. Let's see if Joel Esteban takes that line down. Neck and neck, and I think Esteban's already blasted on by. Nice bit of slip through down this massive, great big back straight. And is Peroni going to let the brakes off? He has to think about it, but he just holds firm for now. Cruzes, who seems to be having a few problems down at turn 13, doesn't he? Sorry, turn 12. Because yesterday it was him who was threading the eye of the needle. That was close yesterday. Braking, and Town didn't clobber into anyone else. Was anyone's guess.
Yeah, obviously a very tricky sort of section. Hard braking, the hardest braking on The track down into turn 12 from the top speed down into a very, very tight left-hander. Always difficult to try and get that right, but there's some personal best lap times coming in. Max Quiles's lap time has been cancelled for track limits, but Esteban and Pironi are going very quickly behind. The top of the table could be changing if these two riders keep it up. Scott Ogden, of course, just in the background there with the pink 19, is on a decent lap as well. This lap time could be promoting Ogden to the top 5. Carpe briefly sat P5 after improving last time out, and Pironi does go fastest. Esteban goes second in the 73. We'll be pretty happy with that. So we'll come to Steiner down there in the Red Bull KTM Tech 3 box. So yeah, the riders, at least when chasing Quiles, who's obviously setting these very, very good lap times, can keep pace with him for a few laps, which is good for the spectacle on Sunday. But Quiles won't be too pleased that the riders behind are going a little bit quicker.
All, but still, it's all a little bit academic as they get into the final minute. Who's having a quiet session so far? Marco Morelli down in 14th. We've not seen really too much of him. But have a look at Adrian Fernandez. He's down in 8th place at the moment. Was quick through the first sector, but losing it in the second half of the lap. Who else is down there? You say Yamanaka, 24th. So he's going through. He's on your screen, but he's going through Q1 anyway. He only missed out late on. So Yamanaka down in 24th place. That will be a concern down there at the Aeon Credit MT Helmets MSI squad.
Certainly will, yeah. Not sure quite what's going on with Yamanaka this season. Hasn't enjoyed Friday too much. Yet to have a top 10 on a Friday. Was 23rd on Friday over in Brazil, and of course just missed out by a 10th and a second yesterday to get into the top 14 at the Japanese ride as well. So I'm liking this from Carpe though. Kiko, because he's lapping all alone, not getting disturbed by any of the riders, and he's very consistent. Another 2:13.6. Okay, it's 3/10 off what Pironi was able to do, but with this 83 on his own, he's looking pretty strong, and he was happy with the feeling that he'd made the step forward, as we mentioned, from Brazil into the USA this weekend. So things are looking pretty good so far, Carpe.
I just wonder when we get qualifying later on if we're going to be down towards the 2:12s here, Al. 2:13.2 at the minute. We've got to factor in a bit of a slipstream and track temperatures when they do come up. It won't be too extreme for them.
And of course, these are on used tyres by this point as well. So put a fresh, soft, Pirelli rubber in the back of your KTM or your Honda or your CF Moto, and yeah, you should be able to find a couple of temps. Of course, the track temperatures are going to increase a little bit later on, but they're not going to get to the temperatures that we saw yesterday. So potentially 2:12 might be on the cards a little bit later on. I just want to mention Quiles' practice pace from yesterday for Camden Court. The session's up 5:2:14s in the opening stint he did yesterday. Of course, the times have dropped this morning in the temperatures, but the only other riders to get into the 2:14s in that opening stint before they stuck the fresh tyres on were Carpe. A couple of 2:14. Pironi set 1:2:14. Esteban was able to hit a couple of 2:14s in there as well. But Quiles yesterday, at least 3 laps more than anyone else in the 2:14. So that's the sort of step that he had on the chasers yesterday. Of course, everyone's made a step so far. Veda Sama included in that on the number 9. First time we're seeing the Indonesian on our screens this morning. He's just inside that top 10. So a better session so far for Sama. But I do think still that Quiles is holding the cards this weekend.
Alvaro Carpe's coming to the line now, and he is absolutely flying. The number 80, so he comes across the line, 2:13.1, and he is very happy with that. That is a new lap record, and a 10 quicker than what Valentin Pironi was able to. We were almost down towards the 2:12s then. I think he actually dropped a 10th or so in the final sector. I think he's happy and maybe a little bit annoyed at himself. Back to our dancing duo out there on track at the moment, Quiles versus Pironi. I tell you what, Valentin Pironi is having a good old case study here in Quiles, isn't he? I just wonder what he's learning, because Valentin Pironi's up there in the top 2 at the moment, ahead of Quiles on the timing tower, and faster than him so far this weekend. And Max Quiles doing a donkey work at the moment, hopefully not showing too many cards to the Argentine.
I think he, unfortunately for Quiles, is, but that lap time from Carpe is very, very good, and you could tell coming over the line that Carpe said a couple of minutes ago that he was looking good, and I said Quiles was holding the cards. I might hit the reverse gear on that and say Carpe might be holding the cards now with that lap time, but Obviously, we'll learn a lot more in qualifying, but this is still very good stuff, very strong stuff from Quiles, setting these lap times all on his own. He's had to play with a couple of the riders, but where's this going to take him? Not improved, but still, 2:13.3 ain't bad at all.
Checkered flag is out then. Moto3 FP2 is done and dusted. We're going to take across the line all of the live laps, and then we are going to be turning our attention to Moto2. Then we've got MotoGP coming up after that, MotoGP Qualifying, and we're bringing you Qualifying Moto3 and Moto2 before the Tissot Sprint and the Bagger World Cup first ever race. That's right at the end of the day, so do join us right across the course for what is going to be a fantastic Saturday for motorcycle action. Wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. In Europe, I know it is hurtling on towards evening, but well, you know what? It's a Saturday night. Get the fridge closer, get the ordering app of your choice sorted out, and enjoy MotoGP.
Absolutely agree with that. Vader Patam then improving Marco Morelli a good couple of laps to end the 97's stint. He made it into the top 10 yesterday, of course, second in the championship. Marco Morelli, only his teammate ahead of him in the overall standing, so that's a decent job done for Morelli. First time here. Of course, Pini up inside that top 5, he's looking strong. As you mentioned, Ogden a good late run there as well to get inside that top 10. Batelli P12, Gorman and Salman have just dropped outside to the top 10 at the end of the session, but they're all chasing Alvaro Carpe in terms of race rhythm, let's call it, ahead of qualifying. Steady on Alvaro, just a little bit of a moment there. I'm sure it looked more under control than it did to our eyes, but yeah, he'll be pretty pleased with that, and that's a bit more like it coming up the hill into turn 3 in this fabulous section to start the lap here at the circuit of the end.
Anyone would think he's got pole, maybe he's practicing for later. Of course, we did mention that the 25 riders, if you are wondering why Marco Soriarte is in, we should have got to this at the top of the show, but it doesn't really matter anyway. Marco Soriarte is replacing David Almanza this weekend. David Almanza got a small fracture to his right elbow. Hopefully the rider from Ciudad Real will be back for his home Grand Prix in Jerez next time out at the end of April. And of course, David Munoz is still under the cosh with his broken femur that he sustained from back in Mandalika. What are we having a look at here? This is Joel Esteban versus Max Quiles. I wonder if something's going on here. They're looking across to each other. I wouldn't pick a fight with Joel Esteban, I've got to say, but Max Quiles, then again, I wouldn't pick a fight with him either. This is down to turn 7 and 8. Oh, hello. Kicking out there, Max Quiles, very, very unimpressed, it's fair to say, with Joel Esteban. No further action is going to be taken over between that, even if Max Quiles is saying, use your head, mate. So a little bit of rivalry, a little bit of needle there before we get going in qualifying.
Yes, I can understand Esteban wanting to follow Max Quiles, and I can then understand Quiles getting frustrated with Esteban just sitting up there sort of on the racing line as you come in through the dip into turn 7, and that is not the end of the session that Pini would have wanted. It doesn't look like a crash as you run out of fuel, a technical or mechanical issue, not obviously can't see from the naked eye up here, but yeah, after a strong weekend so far, that's not what the Leopards on the team nor he would have wanted.
No, Guido Pini has been finding himself on the service road a little bit too much. In 2026 already, just the bike a little bit there. I wonder if it is a fuel problem, and that's why it's ground to a halt, but we'll have to work that one out. This is his teammate Adrian Fernandez, 7th in that session, so Leopard 7th and 5th. Pini was 5th as you saw him now on the service road. Fernandez comes back down pit lane, but both the Hondas of Leopard Racing were already through into Q2. This is Max Quiles. Now gone back to debriefing about his session rather than Joel Esteban. So Joel Esteban in the level up MTA KTM, obviously just catching Quiles' eye, but Carpe did. He's top dog in FP2.
Yeah, certainly is a good job on the 83, and he's going to be the rider to be potentially heading into qualifying.
New lap record, 2:13.190. We are getting closer to the 2:12. Valentin Peroni was second, so it's a KTM 1, 2, 3, 4. Esteban and Quiles. Bit of finger wagging going on between those two, but third and fourth on the time. Guido Pini, a top Honda in fifth, but he's had a problem on his way back to the pits. Working our way all the way through the field. Kilso and O'Shea, 16th and 19th. Both are already through to Q2, but a little bit wanting more from FP2 than that. And then on the final page, we are going to have a look at Cormac Buchanan, who was 21st, but after that massive crash, let's see if he's able to get back out onto the track to get into qualifying.
Good morning, everybody. From Austin, Texas, an overcast Austin to kick off our Super Saturday action with MotoGP qualifying less than a couple of hours away now. Q1 will get underway shortly after 11 a.m. Of course, the sprint over 10 laps at 3 p.m. this afternoon, in conditions drastically different to what we saw earlier on in proceedings. Blazing sunshine, over 30 degrees yesterday. It is chilly even for a couple of Brits here in central Texas.